Welcome back to Fourth and Forever. I'm your host, Mark Sanchez. Today, a very special guest who's near and dear to my heart, Nick Mangold, center for the New York Jets during my tenure there. Also a lifetime Jet, 11-year player in the NFL, 7-time Pro Bowler. The accolades go on and on. Former Ohio State Buckeye. You know all about him. He's going to have some interesting stuff to say about our runs in the playoffs in 2009 and 2010. But most importantly, I've been keeping a secret from him for a very, very long time. I'm a little scared to tell him. I'm glad I don't have to tell him in person because I played a little prank on him back in 2011 when his entire family was staying over with him and he had an infant at home that was, a little restless at nights, baby Matthew at the time. We picked him up on the way to the facility like I normally did on the way to games and on the way to practices at times. We decided to toilet paper his house one night. And he wakes up on Thanksgiving morning and he has toilet paper everywhere. And I mean, we're talking 500 rolls. It was absurd. It was excessive, downright rude. I'm a little worried about his reaction, so I'm going to save this till the very end because I don't want him to cut off the interview. I'm worried about him. I'm worried about his wife, Jenny. She's not going to be pleased. But, you got to own up to what you did as a youngster, having fun, and we'll see how that goes. So stay tuned for his reaction because I think it's going to be a doozy. Welcome back, Fourth and Forever. One of my best friends that I've ever played with. One of my favorite teammates all time, if not the favorite of all time. A1 Nick Mangold, multiple Pro Bowls. I mean, we got a ton of lists of stats on you, but this is just going to be me and you talking, man. I don't want to go too far into numbers other than my amazing numbers. So let's keep your numbers out of it. Just know there's thousands of times I put my hand right under his butt and got great snaps. So Nick, welcome to the show, and it's good to see you.
Thank you. Awesome introduction. I don't think I've ever been introduced by someone saying that they put their hands under my butt.
Yeah, well, the other guys got to get podcasts because there's a lot of guys who've come through there and put their hands under your butt.
Been tossed around.
Gosh, you sure love shotgun, though. I didn't. Growing up in Centerville, Ohio. Born in Centerville, Ohio. Oldest of 4 children. You got the 3 younger sisters, Kelly, Holly, Maggie. I remember when we were in camp and you got a free pass to go see Holly in the Olympics, which was pretty sweet. What was that like, seeing your family member excel and compete at that level?
Yeah, it was really cool. And first I asked Woody, and so I cleared it through him that I could be able to go, so I don't want any craziness there. But it was such a whirlwind trip because I think we took the red eye out there, and then we were there for the morning, and then she competed that night. And then we flew home the following day. So
oh wow,
seeing how big the Olympics is. We laugh and joke football. We're the best in the world because no one else plays it. But when you have so many countries there and so many people mixed in, it was amazing seeing that kind of competition on the world level and not just national or collegiate. And it was pretty, awe-inspiring to be like, all right, we're here with the rest of the world. They've all come to one spot. And so it was pretty cool.
That's really cool. I'm sure she appreciated that. Now you're married. You have your 3 kids now or 4 kids now?
4 kids.
4 kids. So it's Matthew, Thomas, Eloise, and the newest is?
Charlotte.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yes.
Yeah. So you were a dad while we were playing. All these things were going through my head about just playing football, just getting the snap right, just getting a first down, trying to score a touchdown, whatever. But you're doing that. You and Jennifer, God bless her, were amazing. How did you juggle that? And how clueless was I as this young single bachelor in New York? So explain how you did that and how amazing Jennifer is.
Yes, well, obviously she's amazing, and she made it all possible. But, when Faneca came in 2008, and he had been, I think, with the Steelers at that point 10 years, 11 years or so, and his daughter Annabelle was 3.
That's right.
When he got to us. Seeing him work kind of taught me how to do it all. I was always impressed that he would be at the building, he'd be watching film, he'd be doing everything, and then he would talk about, all right, I got to go home, I got to go handle home life. And we talked about it as as I was getting closer to having kids. And so, how do you do it? And he's like, listen, you split it. You have your football life and you have your home life. I don't take my work home. So, a lot of times people will take their film home and everything and just watch it while they're sitting around. He's like, I get my work done at the building, and when I leave here, my time at home is that's dad time.
Right.
Daddy time is what I call it. And so I took that to heart. So that's why there was a lot of times I was at the facility later than, a lot of people, because I wanted to finish my work before I got home. So that way when I got home, it was, depending on what time, if we were eating dinner or if I was getting there for bedtime, I could read the bedtime story and not have it hanging over my head oh, you know what, I need to go watch the last set of third downs.
Right.
Just have everything done. So that was a big help. I think Fanica has shaped not only me as a football player, but then me as a dad and a football player dad. If
that's really sense. Cool. That makes total sense. I think I was just in some ways too immature and not ready for any of that kind of lifestyle, but it puts a lot into perspective, because when I go home, that time, like you said, Fanica taught you, is sacred, and that is everything else is on hold, because as long as they're happy and healthy and we're having a good time at home, the rest of your life, you'll figure it out. Work, all that kind of stuff, other relationships, it kind of falls in line. So I love that that's happening for me now. And, in some ways I'm like, man, I really respect that you could do that as a player.
Yeah, you really had no idea, and it was awesome. Why don't you want to go out tonight? Because I don't have time.
Because my kid's on autopilot, and he'll wake up at 5 a.m. So if I come strolling in at 2, he's still waking up at 5 a.m. What about now, when you're talking about stuff getting canceled, March Madness getting canceled, what are your thoughts on the college stuff? I really think college football, as you and I experienced it, and as we know it, is completely over, and we'll have a totally different look, whether it's next season or in the spring or whatever. Obviously, part of it is this pandemic. I think the bigger issue and the real issue, so long as, everybody stays healthy and safe, is these players, once the name, image, and likeness thing happened, now they're starting to take control. They're starting to organize, unionize, if you will, and they're going to have a lot more power, similar to the players in the NFL, and they're going to start making money. And like I said, the landscape of college football has been changed forever, in my opinion. Do you agree with that? And 2, where do you think it's going?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I think there's 2 very different sides. One is the paying the athletes, and then 2, the Rona issues that we're having right now, like the Big Ten canceling their schedule. Right. I think that has the potential to destroy the Big Ten. I think someone put out there, I'd pay, all the money that I have in my bank account to watch Ohio State play Michigan on pay-per-view, at a high school field.
Wow.
And I was like, yeah, I would agree with that. I'll pay it up right now. And so I saw Harbaugh was still practicing. What are you doing? I'm like, what stops Michigan from calling up Ohio State and be like, hey, come to our stadium, let's play?
Yeah, I don't think you can stop them. And that's the thing, is that what real power does the NCAA have? What real power do these conferences have? Because the teams have to willingly submit to being under their jurisdiction in a certain way. But if everything's canceled, there's no rules. You could, do whatever you want, I guess, right? I don't know how you'd use a stadium. They might not let you play at their own stadium, but I'm sure you'd be able to pay somebody enough somewhere who will let you play.
But they're not Big Ten stadiums. Ohio Stadium is Ohio State's.
Right, that's true. So then the issue would be the liability. The liability. Because if anybody gets sick, or if anybody, God forbid, somebody dies or something crazy, right? Which, I think is a stretch. Do I think anybody dies? No. Is the possibility or the chances 0%? I don't think it's 0, but I think it's low. So I just feel like the school and everybody, they're scared to wear the liability, to own that liability. So it's just like, it's better if we just stop and figure out how we're going to deal with these players and their new power later on.
Yeah, and so then the power, the money side of it, I think they were so rigid for so long that they allowed the government to step in. And that took away the power from the NCAA. So if the NCAA had come out, 5-10 years ago and say, hey, you're right, guys should be getting more. Here's our plan to get them, a relatively fair share of what they're doing.
Right.
The government would have never had to come in. And so allowing the government to come in and say, hey, our state is a pay to play and, now they can use their name and likeness has hurt any of the power that the NCAA would have.
Right.
And I remember when this started up really big, it was like 3 or 4 years ago. And someone was like, well, how do you do it? I was like, I don't know. Like, there's people smarter than me that can figure it out. But the one what I thought was, like, you take, because then you go into, well, if we're paying football players, then do we have to pay the lacrosse team? Do we have to pay, track and field? And I was like, well, take the revenues. And so whatever revenues that lacrosse gets, split it then amongst the players, whatever revenue the football gets.
But they're operating at a deficit.
Right. And so I was like, sometimes life isn't fair. Like, I use that.
Not that one sport is better.
It's
just the demand for a certain sport happens to be more than another. Chris and I talked about this too. I agree. So keep going.
I preach to my kids all the time. They're like, sometimes life just isn't fair. They're like, well, why did he get more whipped cream than I got? Well, because daddy wasn't paying attention and life isn't fair. Sorry. And so it's one of those things where I was like, you could take the money and then because how bad it is for the NFL when you have rookies that come in and get a big old paycheck and then just spend it on all kinds of stuff. And so not that I'm pointing any fingers right here. I spent a lot of stupid money. And so now, like, if you take a guy who's 22, 23, and he does that, if you get a kid who's 18 and you give him a chunk of change, like, it's just going to be spent. So I think if they would have been done it smart, they would have found a way to pay the players, to put it in some sort of trust that was, they couldn't get it until they graduated. I think putting graduation on the idea that you get paid for what you did would be a huge boon to guys that actually pay attention to their degrees. Right. You can't get the money. You get a higher stipend during your time, but you don't get that lump sum. And then it's paid out over, the course of maybe like 5 years or so. So that way, guys that aren't fortunate enough to make it to the NFL have a little bit of something as they're trying to figure their life out as they transition. Because just as the NFL life, guys have a hard time transitioning. Like, all right, my career's over from the NFL. Now what am I doing? Where do I go? When you're in college football and you play it for 4 to 5 years, and now all of a sudden you're like, all right, well, football's over. I got this degree. Where am I going with it? Especially the guys that think they're going to the NFL. The guys that, go undrafted, get a tryout, get cut that first week of camp, and then they're done. Like, all right, well, I thought I was going to the NFL. Now I'm not. How do I fall back? And now they have a little bit of money coming to them over the next, however so many years to try to help them find their way as they transition in. Right. Would be my thought. But
it's
I don't.
Something, or until they declare their, they relinquish their amateur status. Either you graduate or you do that, and then almost like the lottery idea, right? Like, I'll take the lump sum now, and it's going to be a little bit less, and some of that's going to go back to the school or the program, or I can get paid out over, I'll get all the money over a certain amount of time, kind of thing. I mean, there's ways to figure this thing out, but I think you made a really good point that it's been one way for so long and they've fought it for so long, the NCAA, that, I mean, we're in a society and a climate now where, you know, if you gripe about something enough, it might just be eliminated, right? Like you could just get canceled. So the thought of the NCAA being potentially canceled because they're so hard-headed, that's not that far-fetched, in my opinion. But I think there's a way to do this the right way and get these players, and whether it's the conferences or the NCAA, on the same page and have some sort of collective bargaining agreement situation where things are more or less fair and people are more or less happy, or happier rather. But I don't think it's going to be perfect, and I do think it's going to be very muddy moving forward. It's going to be a rocky road, and not everybody's going to be happy about it. So, and the ripple effect from this is going to be crazy. It's hard enough to get, you know, NFL players who are professionals, right, to, you know, sit down and stop what they're doing and, you know, advocate for players all around the league. Some guys care about it, some guys don't. Everybody is affected by it, whether they like it or not. And in some ways, it's like herding cats, right? Trying to figure all this out, get everybody on the same page. And now you're trying to do it with, like you said, 18-year-old kids that, you know, some guys might have, you know, their head on straight and know exactly what they want and what they think is fair, and they might have valid points. But you got other players that are just kind of like, whatever, like, you know, I mean, just like in the NFL. So
right.
I think it's going to be a tough negotiation.
Yeah, I mean, you have 3,500 NFL guys. How many college guys do you have? What?
Oh my God!
You know,
100,000. Good point.
200,000.
That's
a lot of kids. You got. I think it's so. If you have 117 schools, 100 guys on a team, you're looking at 117,000 players that you're now trying to get everyone to vote. You know, a majority one way or the other. It would be. I mean, they've really messed it up, and I think that's the sad part. You know, because it's just college athletes, you know, and everyone's like, oh, you know, I love the amateur status of it. And I was like, all right, yes, technically the college athletes are amateurs. However, if you're at a big time school at a program, like you're still going to be treated differently. Like,
of course.
You know, you got to pick your classes first before anybody else did, because you had to be able to go to practice. You know, no one ever talks about that. Like, well, why do the football players get to choose their classes first?
That benefit's okay, but you can't get a free meal after you beat, you know, Michigan in the big game at the end of the year. Like, that's a little ridiculous.
You know, there's like, you get to travel. You know, you travel around to different places. Like, the average college student isn't traveling around, you know, going to a bowl game. Like, we spent, I went to three Fiesta Bowls. Like, like any other kid sitting there in my business class would be like, oh, you know, I would love a week in Arizona in the beginning of January. That would be great, you know.
And a free PlayStation.
And a free, well, did we get a PlayStation? What did we get? We had some goofy ones. Because it was all
some chips
like
and salsa. Was it Tostitos?
Oh, it was Tostitos, and that Tostitos room was absolutely phenomenal. I mean, it was.
Did they have the Scoops chip? I'm a big fan of Scoops.
Yeah, I think it had just come out right around then, and so it was like, what is this crazy thing? And I'm like, this is great. I love the Scoops too. Jenny does not, which I don't know
Jenny,
why.
That's the only knock I have against her now. Dang it.
Well, because she says she prefers a more authentic chip.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, yeah, but you get to scoop so much more out of
scoop with the chip,
Yeah,
it's practical.
It makes no sense, but
I mean, what is a chip nowadays, Jenny? Okay, you know,
it's a vessel for whatever you're trying. It's a vessel for whatever you're trying to eat. So if you're trying to eat cheese, you can't just eat it with a spoon. You got to have a chip.
That's great.
It's like ice cream. Not too many people actually like ice cream. They just like the toppings. But you can't sit there with like hot fudge and sprinkles. Good point. And just eat like a bowl of hot fudge and sprinkles.
Yeah, you look like a good.
But you put that on top of some ice cream, and you're, you know, everyone's A-okay with you.
Once again, this is brilliant. Gosh, dog, we need you on more. Okay, so now we're in New York. You've been in New York. I get to New York. I love asking people first impressions. For me, from you, I knew we were going to be working together a lot, but I just appreciated your professionalism. I appreciated how you mentioned this in your retirement speech also. You said, I wanted to be steady Eddie and like this even keel guy. And you became this anchor, not just for me, but that offensive line. And you put out fires when things get hot and things get said between players, and you're, dealing with different sides of the line and trying to talk to different guys. And you took me alongside you. And I was just so appreciative for that. And I remember some of my favorite memories are game-winning field goals, whether it's by Jay Feely or Nick Folk, and not being able to watch and just kind of like looking at your shoulder pads or looking at your face to see what's going to happen, or going and riding the bike. I remember specifically the 9/11 game, riding the bike and freaking out because the defense is on the field. And I'm like, Nick, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? And you're like, I don't know, watch. And I'm like, I know we're going to watch, but what's going to happen? I'd rather be out there, like, let us go win the game. And you're like, well, we can't. We're on defense, so we could just watch. And I'm just like, oh, I'm losing my mind, and you're this anchor. So, one, thank you for that. But that was really my first impression of you, and I appreciated you helping me along. But what was... We'll get into the rookie hazing and the fun dinners and stuff, but what was your first impression of me? And please don't hold back.
There was no rookie hazing. It was rookie initiation.
Yeah, I take that back. Rookie initiation. We'll cut that.
Let's see, your first impression. So I was where was I when you got drafted? I was in...
next to Gary V booing me? You were next to Gary V booing.
I was in Antigua. And that was back when, I think that was still when the off season started in like right around St. Patty's Day.
Yeah.
It was earlier, it started in March.
Early.
So they used to give us like a week off in the middle of the off season program. And so, Jenny and I decided to go down to Antigua, and didn't even realize the draft was on. This was before I could dawned on me that you could get cut during the draft, and so sorry, Al. And so it was. I'm sitting there watching. I see you get drafted. I was like, all right, we got a quarterback. Like, this is exciting because we had just come off of Brett Favre. We didn't really know what was going on. I think he had already gotten himself to Minnesota at that point, so we're kind of rudderless there a little bit, and so. So then coming back to the facility, and it was funny because you don't have too many first round quarterbacks that you're around, and for some reason I've found all of you guys have the same like aura when like the beginning of when you come in, like everyone's just like, ooh, shiny new toy, like how can we play with it, how can we use it? And so it was funny being like, all right, because 2009, I was in my fourth year, so it wasn't like I was an old vet or anything.
Right.
And so it was interesting for me because it was like, oh, it's a rookie quarterback. I was like, well, especially to some of the older guys, I'm like, I'm closer in age to him than I am you guys. So
right.
Like it was kind of an odd, like in between. But then since you were so young and dumb, like and so immature and inexperienced, I felt so much older at the time, which was also weird. Like it was like, well, wait, hold on. And it's always tough for me. Like I always think of, people are like, oh, you're talking about your quarterbacks, and I go through, starting with Chad, ending with who did I end with? Fitzpatrick was the last one. And like going through and talking about it, I was like, oh yeah, when Mark came in, he was so young. And then I always sit back and think about it. I was like, he was only 4 years younger than me. I'm like, it really wasn't that much of a difference when you really think about it. So that gets me the chuckle all the time. And I'm like, God, we really weren't that far apart.
Right. And you were this perfect role of being close in age to me, but old enough to have, juice with the vets, and you've played well, so everybody respected you. And so that was nice to have that kind of buffer with those guys. So I appreciate you being that, intermediary guy. But one of my favorite memories is the Del Frisco's dinner. That was almost a disaster because I think we made reservations somewhere else and then they couldn't have our party, and you guys switched the venue for the lineman dinner our rookie year. And we only had 3 draft picks. So it was me, Slauson, and Sean Green. And we couldn't get the right room or something happened. I just remember the O-lineman being pissed. Like, we're away from our families. We're out here. Everything's supposed to be ready for us. And it was just like total scramble mode. I was like, oh my God, they're going to kill me.
Yeah.
So we switched to Del Frisco's, and it ends up being this incredible night for you guys. And I remember a sizable check somewhere in the range of $12,000+. I also remember somebody buying a Christmas gift for their O-line coach, Bill Callahan, on the way out with my credit card. That jacked up the bill.
He really liked his, he liked his insignia. Like, I felt like he needed a bottle of it.
And you got him like a Magnum bottle of insignia wine. And I remember the guys, like, the waiter kept coming over and asking me, like, is this okay? Is this okay? They want this, they want this. I'm like, whatever they want. Yeah, of course. And so he finally comes back and he goes, hey, so you guys want a bottle, another Magnum? Are you sure people are going to drink that? I was like, another Magnum of wine? I was like, who's drinking more? And you're like, oh, no. That's our Christmas gift for our offensive line coach. Like, Christmas isn't for 5 months, you jerk. That was ridiculous.
Well, listen. It was in a spirit of giving, obviously.
Spirit of
at least
taking.
We didn't drink it on the way. At least we didn't drink it on the way home,
Yeah. Oh, my God.
What's funny about that? It was one of my last rookie dinners, and we had a guy there who I won't say any names, but he wasn't really that good, and but he was a good rookie, like, and that was something we all appreciated. So we took him out. We went to Del Frisco's because we started going to Del Frisco's every year. Yep, and. We're down in the cellar. We have a good meal. We didn't go crazy. He wasn't that high of a draft pick. And so we had him do the fake bill. And so I think the fake bill came to like $15,000 or something like that. And so they bring it out to him. We're all sitting around, and everybody knows because we started doing the fake bill a while ago. And so we're all sitting there. He gets the bill. He looks at it. Oh, fuck. All right. Closes it up, puts his card in, hands it up. Like,
wow.
Yes, this guy is the best. Wasn't a great football player, but he knew, he took it well. And so we're like, no, that's the fake one. Don't worry.
That's really funny. What about driving to games, picking you up, going to the hotel? I love doing that.
That was your favorite part.
Yeah, that was that was part of my rookie duties. But then, like, define a good rookie and then explain to viewers who might not know about how I had to go get you guys food before road games as a rookie, get food. I ended up getting roped into getting food for other guys in the locker room. So now that was 2 stops, not just Quiznos, but I had to go to Popeyes. Then I'm like taking my quarterback test and like hauling ass to and from the facility just to make it on the plane in time because Rex was like, we'll leave your ass. We won't leave Revis, Mangold. He had a list of people. He's like, but we'll leave your ass. I was like, geez. So can you explain, 1, what is a good rookie? And 2, those rookie duties?
Yeah, so, I think a good rookie, and I was taught this my rookie year by Brandon Moore because we had the same rookie duties, and it was Brick and I, so we were able to share, but we were also both first-round picks, so they took full advantage of that. But so a lot of our rookie duties were just mainly getting the food. So there was, you had breakfast sandwiches, you had lunch for travel days, and then you had... I think we got McDonald's breakfast a handful of days and stuff. So, and it was all, and then like Mondays we had more lunch sandwiches, I think. And so we're going through it, and we're going, you get your marching orders, and you go and you put your head down and you just keep grinding. And it's nothing outlandish. It's tasks that, you don't want to do. And, obviously the vets don't want to do it, but it still needs to be done. Right. And so Brick was on the lunch sandwiches, and he would go around and get all the orders. He'd go over, it was the Coliseum Deli in Long Island, get the sandwiches, bring them back, distribute, and, everything was fine. And so every week he'd get Brandon's order, and he would write it down, go get it, come back. Brandon would look at it, too much mustard, and throw it away. And then the next week he would get it like, I didn't order lettuce, throw it away. Like, he always found something wrong with the sandwich and would throw it away. And finally, Brick, I think, had reached his point. He's like, why are you doing this? Like, you obviously don't want the sandwich. Why do you keep making me get it? He goes, because you need to earn your stripes. Like, I had to do it. Guys before me had to do it. And it's something to prove to us, because we don't know you on the field, to prove that you're willing to go above and beyond your duty to get the job done, whether it be getting sandwiches or blocking the 3 technique because I told you to come down. Like, there's, it's not really the act of getting the sandwiches and getting the food. It's more showing that you're a team player, that you're here to help, and you're going to work hard for the guys that are in the locker room. So to me, it was always a good rookie was one who took everything in, listened, and didn't come in with like a chip on their shoulder that, they already know everything, because rookies are dumb. I was rookie, I was dumb. And every rookie after me I've seen come in are dumb. And you just learn. And it's nothing, I don't think it's anything against them. It's just, that's how it is. When you have guys who are playing in the league who, are 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 years going, they've seen everything and they can teach stuff. But when rookies come in, they're like, oh, I know how to play guard. Like, you think you do, but you don't. Like, you might be, you might be amazing. You might be the next Alan Faneca, but you're still a rookie. And you talk to guys, you talk to older guys. We all went through it. And I think almost every man will say it made him better.
Wait, was I an A rookie, B rookie, C rookie? Can I get a grade real quick?
Oh, you were an A rookie. You did great.
Okay, thanks, bud.
Also, you knew the answer. Get out of here.
I know. I just want to make sure.
Okay.
All the bus rides when we're getting ready to go on road games, and we're getting ready to go to the airport, and we're all on the bus, and you guys pull out the newspaper. A lot of times, I happen to be in the newspaper for some odd reason. Had nothing to do with football, but it became an episode, a male version of The View, in the back of the bus with all the offensive linemen. And I had to answer a bunch of questions about, where I went to dinner on Friday, what so-and-so was like or not like, if she was really hot in person or not, and all this kind of stuff. So did you guys talk about that away from me? And what were those conversations like? Because, in some ways it was really uncomfortable, but in other ways I felt like it was just like a good razzing, because I thought you guys were like cool with me, other than Faneca, because he didn't talk to me till the playoffs of my rookie year. And I kept asking you, like, does he hate me? Or is it like, is it like a race thing? Or is this like a real problem? Does he not like me? And you're like, no, dude, that's just shut up and keep working hard kind of thing. But talk about those bus rides and some of your favorite memories.
That goes back to the rookie, like, he at the time, I think that was his 12th year, and he had done all his time in Pittsburgh, which Pittsburgh has a fantastic, and I talked to Willie Colon about it all the time, a fantastic like rookie veteran relationship, and that's just how he did it. That was his way. And the bus trips were always the best, because you had a little bit of food before you get on, and driving to Newark, about 30 minutes. And so I was always my seat was always it was the 7th seat on the left. And I sat in the same seat, not out of superstition or anything, but just because I like routine. So it kind of became one of those things, and it was always awkward. The first camp, especially as I was in those middle years, because I didn't have a full veteran pool yet. But training camp, you have a lot more people, and you're loading up the buses, and guys just get on. And so I'd get on the bus, and there's someone either new or young, and be like, that's my seat, out of here. And so, and it was always me with the newspaper, because I used to get the post delivered to the house. So I just grab it on my way in, and you have 30 or 40 minutes. It was a great time to read the paper. And, it's not our fault that you were going out to dinner with celebrities and, movie stars and whatnot. And I mean, I think you cemented your case for, we're going to have a little bit of fun with it, with the GQ spread. Because that GQ spread was your rookie year, right?
Yeah, coming in, yeah.
Yeah, it was. And the picture, my favorite one, I was just asked this recently, my favorite picture from the spread was the life-saving station. When you were up there with it. Like, that was
lifeguard?
Just...
When I'm running?
Yeah, as the lifeguard.
Yeah.
It was when you're running down like the little plank thing there. It was just awesome. And so, yeah, straight up hassle, man. And it was one of those things, because even for me, when Chad was here, when I was a rookie and Chad was here, Chad was like bigger in life quarterback, and I was like, wow, this guy's cemented. When I got there, it was his 7th year, a starting quarterback for the New York Jets. Like, this is crazy. And I don't remember anybody, like, he had a wife and kids, and so he wasn't going out and about or anything. And so we never really had that page 6, because Farby didn't do it either. Like, Farby was sitting at home, or he was in a hunting stand most of the time when he wasn't at the facility. So, and so, like, you coming in, and you're coming out of LA, you're coming in, you've already hit the GQ spread. You're just a handsome devil, and then to be, to embrace what New York City has to offer, which a lot of guys don't, and which is disappointing, because there's so much, and you're so close there in Jersey, and so to fully embrace New York, but then have to deal with like the page 6 side, was pretty funny, because it was like, we never really had that before, and so it was kind of a new novelty, which was for us, it was like, I don't know, it was kind of one of those things like, wow, this is crazy. Like, I'm used to reading this, and I'm reading about movie stars, and here it is, the guy that's going to shove his hands under my butt.
Oh my God, those were fun days. What about O-line Christmas gifts? How do we do with those? What were your favorites along the way? I remember those were, I don't know if I was ever more stressed than that. I mean, I got stressed playing ball, but it was a different kind of stress, because once I felt like a real connection with you guys, I was just like, oh, I can't let these guys down. Like, they do everything. They don't get any love. Like, this is big. So what were some of your favorite gifts, not just from me, but other guys? And how did that start? Who taught you about that? Where did that come from?
Yeah, so that came from my rookie year. Chad Pennington, he got us all MacBook laptops my rookie year. And that was like right when they were first coming out. And I was like, Chad, like, this is a laptop, thanks, but that's a bit much, isn't it? And he goes, no, man, you're out there, you guys are taking care of me. This is a little way I can take care of you guys. I was like, oh, well,
what did Brandon Moore say? Did Brandon Moore say, no, I'm a Windows guy, throw it in the trash?
Yeah. I prefer a DOS operating system. Get this trash out of here. And so it was, I was like, well, that's really nice. Like, that's something, like, it was so unexpected. I had no idea, like, it was coming. A Christmas gift from a quarterback. So when I got it, and it was what it was like, wow, this is amazing. So it was always appreciated, and it was never never one of those things was like, it has to be done. But it was always overly appreciated, no matter what it was, even if it was, just a small thing, just the thought that like, hey, these are my guys up front, take care of me. How can I repay? And so, I think you won easily of the Christmas gifts. You dominated those. I think.
Do you still have your watch? Now you got an Apple Watch. You don't even wear your watch anymore, do you?
Oh, I do when I'm fancy time.
Okay.
Which I haven't been fancy time since Rona, so I haven't worn it that much. But it's on the winder. Don't you worry. I think Chad may have given you a run for your money if I had been with him longer. It was right when DVD players were coming out, and he got us
Blu-ray.
like a brand new, or that's what it was, Blu-ray. It was a Blu-ray player, and like the thing was huge, like a big old block. And I was like, wow, this is cool. I don't have anything to put in it, but this is really cool. So he was, and so I only had 2 years with him. I think between, let's see here, you had the watch, which is, one of my favorite watches. I can't say it's my favorite because I have watches for my kids, so that would probably get me in trouble.
Dang it.
And then we got the Per Se gift card.
Yeah.
That was a big one. The travel.
Can I do like
the travel
voucher one?
That one actually, it's not going to beat the watch, but it's more of the family enjoys it more. We took that voucher, and after the Pro Bowl, which was in Miami that year, which was a stupid idea, we then used your voucher to fly to Cabo. And we stayed in Cabo for the first. We had never gone, and it gave us an excuse to go. And we absolutely fell in love with Cabo. And so I think we've been since that voucher. That was the first time we went. I think we've been 4 or 5 times since there. I think Jenny had her 30th birthday in Cabo.
Oh wow! That's cool.
Yeah,
that actually makes me really happy.
Yeah, we really fell in love with it. Yeah,
that's cool.
So then it was watch Per Se.
I don't remember what 4 and 5. I mean, my last year I was hurt, so I was like, here's a Starbucks gift card.
Yeah, screw you guys. The one you'll laugh about, which I had heard this rumor, when Fitzpatrick came to us, I got a call from one of my buddies, and he was like, listen, he played up in Buffalo with him. He said, you are going to love Fitzy's Christmas gift. I was like, all right, what is it? And he goes, oh, I can't tell you. You'll wait. I was like, well, now I got to wait almost a full year to figure out what it is. We're getting close to Christmas time, and it shows up, and it's a bunch of Yeti coolers.
Oh, nice.
Which, a nice Yeti cooler. You appreciate that. What does it have on it? It's a silhouette of his face right on the top of the cooler.
No way.
Yep.
Do you still have it?
It is. Of course. It's in my garage.
That's so cool. That's great.
That thing's not going anywhere. I think it was... Did you ever play with Breno Giacomini?
No, that was when I went to Philly.
We played in Philly every year, so it was kind of... That was a fun trip. But one of the guys ended up going into the training room before the game and got it. He wasn't playing and got an IV. He was so hungover from the night before. And I remember one of the doctors looked at him and goes, why are we giving this to you? You're not playing tonight. We already got the list of players who aren't playing. He goes, I'm just going to need it. I'm not going to be able to stand for 3.5 hours if I don't get an IV.
That's
so
really
he got the hangover cure. Yeah.
That's pretty good. I mean, obviously our relationship was something special. Talk through, because you went to the playoffs with Pennington, correct?
Yes.
And then with Favre, you guys are right on the verge. Then I come in my rookie year, and we're like complete roller coaster. And we back into the playoffs. I don't know what the hell's going on. Everything's a blur. We got to play Cincinnati twice, which is so weird to me. What are some of your favorite memories of that playoff run in 2009 because we went Bengals, Chargers, and then, I mean, we're winning at halftime against the Colts. It's like, holy cow, we might go to the Super Bowl. Your emotions and some of your favorite memories from those runs.
I think we'd be doing a disservice if we skipped over the whole season of 2009, which I know is probably not your favorite thing to go back over. But there's a lot of fun in that one. I mean, the red light, green light, yellow light. That was awesome.
Thanks, dude. Traffic cop.
Yeah.
Thanks. You guys would ask me too. Okay, so for people who don't know, that it was, I had a little trouble taking care of the football, and to the point where the team that we're on is so good. Obviously, the Jets were supposed to draft at like 15 or 16. They move up to 5 to get me. So it's not like they were just this crappy team without any talent that had to build. They were a team that could win now. And so they add me, but in some ways they have to win in spite of me for multiple games, to the point where I've thrown 5 interceptions and we're still in a game against Buffalo in overtime. James Gandolfini was on the sidelines before the game. It was one of my nightmares. I literally couldn't throw it to our own team's jersey. So
that was
that's how good we are. Because that was not a fun game. So then it started the red, yellow, green stuff, and it was red meant like at all costs, if number 1 isn't open in your progression as a quarterback, just like fall down or throw the ball like 10 rows into the stands and just don't get us in trouble. Yellow's like pretty close to red, but maybe try and get back to the line of scrimmage. And then green is just like cut it loose and play like normal. So that's what this traffic system is, but go ahead.
Well, the Buffalo game was fantastic because we ended up rushing for over 300 yards that game.
And lost.
And lost. And I remember at some point Brandon Moore yelled at Shoddy, it's just quit fucking throwing the ball. Like, just stop calling pass plays. We'll take care of it. And it was awesome. It was like, what are we doing here?
Here we go. So I'll set the stage. You can tell them the rest. I took a lot of credit this Oakland game, and we had gone through, we went through like a 3-game losing streak right before this, and this was our next game on the road at Oakland. And we have a check at the line of scrimmage. I go through a dummy cadence, and we're on the second set of cadence, which basically means the ball's about to get snapped, and I needed to decide, are we running the ball right or are we running the ball left? And I'm literally at the line of scrimmage, like going through the cadence, and and I just straight up go, what do you like, Nicky? And on the film, on TV, and on our coach's film, you can see you move your hand in the direction of the way to go. So I make the check that way. It was either Sean Green or Thomas Jones just scampers in the end zone for a touchdown for like a 20-yard run or something. And everybody's high-fiving everybody on the sidelines and stuff. Coaches come by, great check, Sanchez. And I'm just like, hey, thanks, guys. That was a tough one. Sorry it took so long at the line. Just kind of wore it like it was my check. What did you think when I asked you that? Has anybody else done that?
I think yes. Now, having gone through it, especially with Fitzpatrick, we had a good working relationship where we ad-libbed a lot. Of what we were doing, so like that the Chan Gailey offense that we were running, even though some look said we shouldn't have run into it, we did anyways because we kind of figured we could make it work. So I have been doing. I did more of that, but that was the first time where, because you got to remember before this, it was Chad Pennington, and then Brett Favre,
right,
and now. So Farby wasn't asking anybody anything. However, he was making up his own protections, and so we kind of had to figure that out on our own. But this was the first time a run-to-run check where it's like, which way should we go here? And I think the best part is it was coming off on the sideline, and you're high-fiving, great check, Mark. I had it the whole time, yeah. It was like,
it was more of like the group think mentality, incentivize everybody to get involved, and that gives them ownership in the whole process. It's not just one person, we're some of all our parts. Exactly. Is really where I was coming from.
Yeah, it worked out. Listen, I was very happy to give it up because it was a touchdown, and it's now something I can hold over your head forever. So I like having that. So Anywho, so now that we've gotten through, and that was the game where you're eating the hot dog on the sideline.
Hot dog, yeah, I had to. Yeah, that's bad.
I mean, no, I don't think anyone blames you. Like, I would kill for a hot dog. I just never thought to ask for one.
See, genius.
Like, I know. I'm actually disappointed. I never thought about it before. But going into that playoff run, I remember because we had played the Colts, where they rested their starters for the second half, I think, and so we beat them. And then Cincinnati, I don't think they rested their guys.
No, they came out to win.
And we smacked the shit out of them. It was like 35-0 or something like that.
Yeah.
And so then going into the playoffs and having to go there, it was different for me. Or it was an added bonus because it was going back to Cincinnati, which is a hometown. So I had family there and everything. And I remember going into that game and the whole time thinking, like, all right, we beat them. We just smacked them, and now we're going to go play them. I was like, this isn't going to be the same game. It was trying to figure out, like, how are we going to handle a team that, we just beat really bad, and are we going to be able to do it again? And if you recall, it was crazy cold that game.
So cold.
It was freezing. And as we got the game going and settled in, realized it was definitely going to be a much harder battle than the week before. But in the back of my mind, there was never a thought like, oh, we aren't going to beat them, which was pretty good. And I have a picture hanging in my basement from that game of me and Alan just knocking the crap out of somebody. And it always, every time I walk by, it reminds me of like that Cincinnati playoff game, which was awesome. And then going out to San Diego was, I always love traveling to San Diego because it's beautiful out there. And then B, that game, that crappy locker room, going out and playing it, and we're grinding away. And I don't remember much of the game, but I do remember that fourth down play.
Yeah.
Whereas, do you want to go for it and seal the deal? And yeah. And so they knew what we were doing, and we still did it. And that was awesome. And then the Colts game, I think if I had just been a fan watching the game, I'd be like, that is awesome. That's just Peyton being Peyton and just dominating.
Right, of course.
But going through it was like, and when we were up at halftime, all right, we grinding, they couldn't stop the run. We were grinding away. And then to end up losing it after being up it was such a crushing blow. And sitting there and being helpless about watching Peyton do what Peyton does best and just sling the ball all over the place was like, this sucks.
Have you ever talked to Rex about that one? Because remember we got Tom Moore. Remember he came and was like a consultant for us at one point?
Right. That was 2011?
Yeah, something like that, 11 or 12 or something. But he basically told Rex that in the second half, Rex had his number, and it was on. It was going to be a long day for him. Second half rolls around, and Peyton just kept on shaking off the calls that were coming in with Tom Moore. And he just went up and started calling his own shit. And it made Rex, I've never seen him change his demeanor like that, because he's normally like a happy guy, or he's fiery and intense or whatever. But he was just like so upset and defeated, what? I knew something was wrong. And so immediately he's just I knew something was different. He's like, I was wondering where the hell did all this shit come from? He's doing stuff. This is not what we prepared for, And so, put him on his heels a little bit, but obviously a testament to Peyton Manning. Yeah. The other one that you were talking about in San Diego, golly, just that fourth down, it had to be my pump-up speech to everybody, hey, guys, we need this first down. Clearly, the Al Pacino moment, and any given Sunday. No, but like you said, it was where, you guys and the running game, and obviously my great checks, became like a top 5 NFL rushing team like ever. Did you know that? Did you know that you guys were like single digit top 5, one of the best rushing attacks of all time that season?
Yeah, I think I heard that. I never looked it up. I accepted it as fact.
Perfect. And it was one of those situations, the way you talked about Cincinnati, like it's going to happen. And of course, as a young rookie, I'm just like, everything's going to be great. Everything's going to be great. But I do recall that moment, like everybody in the stadium knows what we're going to do. Like we ain't going to sneak it. We're going to turn around and hand the ball off to one of these badass running backs, and he's going to run right behind this badass offensive line, and we're going to get a first down, and we're going to the championship game. Like it was never a doubt because of what I've seen you guys do and what I got to be a part of. I was just like, this has to happen. So when it did, that was an incredible moment. And you talk about these highs, and then you juxtapose those with the dichotomy of the lows. And I remember after those championship games, this might have been where I learned how to drink wine with you in your house, just solving the world's problems and fixing everything that just happened in these horrible games and these losses that you hold on to forever. But those might have been some of my favorite times too, of just sitting there at the table and, Jenny came down for a little bit and then went back to sleep, and we're just sitting there. I know Brandon Moore came over one time. I think Al was there one time. But just how do you explain to someone who's never had that? How do you unpack a game that just felt like your entire life, like up and down? How do you do that?
Yeah, and I think that's the tough part. When you go through a season, there's always another week so no matter what happens in the game, you have about 24 hours to process it, and then you move on because you got to prepare for the next one. And so when it gets to the playoffs, it's so much more intense because, you win and everyone's happy and you move on to the next game. You lose, and you're done with the season. Now you have nothing else to do.
And sometimes you don't even see those teammates ever again.
Yeah, and so like that team, no team that I've ever been on was exactly the same the next year. And so having to deal with that, like, is this guy going to be gone? Is this guy going to be here? We had a chance. And it's tough when you talk to fans about it, because they during the season, if there's a loss, if we lose on Sunday at 1 p.m., they have until the next Sunday at 1 p.m. to feel miserable about it, until the next opportunity to win. Where, we switch so quickly, like, all right, we got to prepare for the next one. If you lingered on that loss, into Wednesday, you would be ruining your preparation for the next game. So the fans see it in a much longer period. But now, after a playoff loss, now you see it as like that's the infinite loss, where now you have that loss until your first game the following season. And,
it's very final, yeah.
And so you look at it and you're like, well, I really appreciated the run, but I really didn't want to go out that way. And so watching that loss for Faneca, I think was probably the hardest, because he had been to a Super Bowl. He knew what it took, and I think he had true belief that we were going. In my young and dumb age, I was like, oh, no, we'll go again next year, and we'll do it next year, and then we'll do it again the following year, and we'll just keep doing it. And so to do it, and then the tough part is to do it again next year, to go to the AFC Championship and then lose, really kind of cemented in my head. It was like, oh yeah, we're rolling now. Like, this is going to be, it's not going to be, all right, we need to make the playoffs and make a run. Like, we're now shooting for Super Bowl. That's the true goal. Then not to get to the playoffs was a little difficult, for the rest of my career. So, going through those ups and downs, and, when we flew back from San Diego, the high of being on that plane, landing, and being like, all right, we're going to AFC Championship game. And then that whole week leading up to it, studying the Colts, seeing how, it's amazing watching, when your regular beat reporters are there every week watching practice, and then the first round of playoffs, there's a little bit more people, and then the second round of playoffs, and then you go to the AFC Championship game, and now like the whole sideline's filled, at practice, getting ready to go in. You're like, this is like the magnitude of it kind of just really starts building, and then to have the disappointment. You got to let loose with a little bit of wine after a loss like that. A little bit of wine and maybe some whiskey.
So we both saw Jamal Adams. He's unhappy in New York. He wants to get out of there. And then I saw your tweet with Brian Baumgartner laughing when he talks about that. Do you know him personally, or how did that happen? Like, explain that, because I didn't catch all of it, and obviously I'm terrible on Twitter, but what was that all about?
Yeah. No, I mean, it was nothing crazy. It's just, I get, I'm very possessive of my team, I guess.
Right, of course.
The joy of being able to play for one team. I think I kind of take it to heart, not having played for any other team. And
right.
So I struggle sometimes. Well, I don't struggle, but it was difficult for me, especially with Adams. I don't really know him, pleasantries here and there if I was at the facility or something. But, don't really know him. But I was having a hard time with the, wants to be a Jet for life tag. And,
right.
Having actually done that, it means something to me. And
right.
So for it to be just kind of thrown around like, oh, well, we're just going to pay him a bag of cash that makes him a Jet for life, and then he'll be gone anyways,
right.
or, whatever that means. And I also take it with Brick too. Brick was able to be a Jet for life. And like, that's
right.
something that I take a lot of pride in, because I had the opportunity to go somewhere else when I was done. And, I still wasn't fully healthy. Probably could have, limped it out and stolen a couple of checks. Which now looking back, I probably should have stolen a couple of checks, but money's always good. But it was also, I was like, well, I played for one team. Like that's, I'm going to be a Jet, and, it's not the asterisk of a season, somewhere else. And so,
right.
I take a lot of pride in that. And so to have that being thrown around, especially while he was going through everything, he had come out and he had already said that he wanted to be a Jet for life. Like he was here to turn things around and saying all the right things, and then to watch it, just fall apart publicly, which I don't really like either. I don't like public disputes when you're talking the business side of football. I think that's
sure.
I think that's not the way to go about it, but that's my own personal views. And then to have him get traded, and I thought that Joe Douglas did a fantastic job getting the haul that he did.
Yeah.
I was shocked. I didn't think that they would ever get 2 first-rounders, but
right.
I was shocked by that. But then to have him, after saying that he wanted, when he was talking about being traded, and I think he said something about going to Dallas, and then going to Seattle, not negotiating a new contract, which was his original intent here, to be a Jet for life and get paid and everything. So now he's not renegotiating his contract immediately with Seattle, and comes out, I think, in his first press conference and says, ready to be a Seahawk for life. I was like, well, now you're just saying things. Like, that clearly
right.
doesn't really mean, like, the words that you're saying, you don't know what they mean.
Sure.
And so, like, it made me chuckle. And I love gifts. I think they're one of the best forms of communication that we have available to us. So I sent that out, and I was shocked at the response it got. Like,
yeah.
Well, it wasn't blowback. It was all, I would say, positives. But, like, I was not expecting, something silly like that to get
sure.
as much traction as it did.
Yeah. And I mean, like you said, it's not like you guys were, friends for 20 years and, you embarrassed them or something. One of you guys said something so awful about the other person. It's kind of inconsequential, in my opinion. But I thought it was kind of funny, too. Then did you get to watch Hard Knocks?
No, I didn't. What were we doing last night? Something happened last night that we were doing. I forget what it was. But, yeah, I missed it last night.
That's all good. But A. Lynn was talking about Anthony Lynn, obviously our former running backs coach when we were in New York. Now the head coach of the Los Angeles Chargers said something about getting COVID. And with stuff like that going on, what are your thoughts? Do you think we make it through the entire season, number one? And what does it take to pause the season or stop the season altogether?
That's a good question. I hope we make it through the season because if I had a fall without football, I think I'd just sit in my room and cry. And so I'm a little shocked that they aren't doing it's very difficult because it's not the NBA. So you have a lot more people involved. So you can't do the bubble.
Right.
And so, and it puts a lot of onus on the players and coaches,
right.
to that personal responsibility to try to keep everybody safe. Not only safe, but to keep the game going. If there's an outbreak on a team, that team, obviously is going to be out for 2 weeks.
Right.
And so are those games postponed or are they, forfeited? If they really want to be serious about it, I think if they were to postpone a game, instead of postponing it, you just forfeit it. So if you can't play the game
right.
because of the Rona, you lose the game. And people have asked me, if you were still playing, would you be playing or would you opt out? And they're like, well, I'd play because I'm not opting out of that check. And because you're going to get replaced. You opt out of a season, it's going to be, unless you have a very clear medical reason that you shouldn't be playing, then people get replaced all the time. A lot of people get wally pipped. And so seeing that, it would be a much different experience, I think, for the season. I'd probably try to keep myself away from the kids and my wife and keep my distance there because, if they're going to school, I don't want them to get sick and give me something and I take it into the building.
Right.
Vice versa, I don't want to. So it would be a difficult, probably 4 months, but I'd get through it. But that's me as a parent and as an older player. Like a rookie or a second-year guy who's single, doesn't have anybody else around, that guy. You would have been like, well, I can go to this restaurant or, I can go somewhere. And then it would be difficult. That player doesn't see the whole, the significance of
right.
everybody. And so it's going to be tricky because there's just a lot of guys. That's the tough part with the NFL is it's a lot of bodies. Like the NBA has 17 guys on a roster.
Right.
And so when you go out to 53 with practice squads, you're sitting somewhere around 75 guys per team. That's a lot of bodies to manage. And then the staff and everything, it's tricky. So it's going to be tough. It's one of those things that I think it's almost like not even a patriotic duty, but just a release for the country to have something that we get to look forward to each week.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
So hopefully they take the proper precautions and guys do it the right way so that we can have football.
Yeah, I think one of the Bosa brothers said it the best, that the most responsible team might be the team that ends up winning it. And hopefully everybody's responsible enough to keep it going. But in our last couple things here before I disclose something to you that could affect our friendship, the teams in the AFC East, the 4 teams, Bills, Dolphins, Jets, Pats, how do you think everything shakes out? I got to work out with Sam this past offseason a little bit. And, obviously as a SoCal guy, I love him. I'm rooting for him like crazy. I know they need to put talent around him. But where do you think the Jets end up in this year's season, and then assess the other teams? Because I know the Bills have some good stuff going on with McDermott, with Josh Allen, and the Dolphins look like they had a great draft. I think they're still a couple years away. And then when it comes to the Patriots, a total new look Patriots, something that you and I never experienced. We knew exactly who we were playing every time, and it was going to be a dogfight. So what do you think happens in that division?
I think this year is going to be wild, and it's going to be it truly is up in the air for every team, just because you don't know how missing an off season and having an abbreviated training camp is going to affect teams. You would have to say it puts it a little bit more in the favor of the Patriots, even though they don't have Tom Brady, because I think Bill probably has been planning since March of how to go about it. But I like the talent that the Jets are doing. I like what Joe Douglas is doing. He's starting to work on the offense. He kind of rehauled the offensive line. As long as Sam doesn't get mono this year, we should be fine.
There we go.
So now we don't have to worry about mono, but now we have to worry about Rona. So it's a whole big thing. The Bills have a lot of young talent, and like you said, Miami. I think they're still a couple of years out, but they do have Fitzpatrick down there for a year, who has a history of just wrecking a couple of games for people. So it's going to be a wild time in the AFC East this year. I think the NFL as a whole. I think when you watch the NFL this year, the first couple of games, probably 2 or 3, are all going to feel like the third preseason game of a normal year, where there's still some glaring mistakes that they're trying to get ironed out. And so I think for my betting, I'm going to take every under for the first 3 weeks.
Tell me about 74 Barbecue. How did that happen, and what makes it so amazing and sets it apart from other barbecue sauces?
I've been making my own sauce for probably 4 or 5 years now. Really enjoyed it. I loved it, and most people who tried it said that they enjoyed it, but that was to my face. And you never know if people are just being polite or not. So about a little over a year and a half ago, my partner and I, I made a batch. He took it over to 5 or 10 people, blind taste testing, and they loved it, and said, all right, let's do something. And so for football, for so long, it's so regimented. So, do this, go here, do that. Cooking for me is more creative. And kind of my creative spot. So I really enjoyed the process of making the barbecue sauce. Right now I have 2 out. It's the OG and the spicy OG. The OG is for Matthew, my firstborn, and because he's the original. Right. And then the spicy is Thomas, my second son, because he's a carbon copy of Matthew, but he's a firecracker. Right. I'm hoping to have 2 more sauces come out. I already have 1 finished. The other one's an R&D for my 2 daughters. Nice. So I'll have a line of sauces, and it's been a lot of fun. I mean, obviously I'm an idiot for starting barbecue sauce in a pandemic. Our first production got delivered on March 20th. So we're a little behind the 8 ball, but we started a year and a half ago, so who knew that this was all coming down the pike?
Of course.
But it's been a lot of fun. It's been really neat. I can't wait to get you your 2 bottles, so that way you can try it and know that it's the best barbecue sauce you've ever had in your life.
Ever.
And people ask all the time, they're like, well, what style is it? Is it Carolina? Is it Kansas City? St. Like, what is it? And it truly, and I always joke, I said, well, it's a New Jersey barbecue sauce. Because it tastes nothing like you've ever had, but you still know it's a barbecue sauce. And so it's been a lot of fun, and I love it. And so I like sharing the idea of barbecue with other people. So
there was such a stigma for so long with marijuana and CBD and their connection. And especially since playing, now you know what you're getting in certain products. And, with the pain and stress of playing and residual effects of those injuries that you sustain as a player, guys have used CBD, and it's not psychoactive, meaning you're not going to get high and all that. It's more for the anti-inflammatory properties and things like that of it. When did you first try Motive CBD? Have you gotten any blowback from trying it from anybody on the outside that might not understand? And what's your connection with them? Yeah, so when CBD was starting to blow up, and you could get it at like the bodegas and stuff, I was like, that pretty much sounds like a truck stop, like speed pill that keeps truckers awake. Like I don't know about that. And hearing people talk about it and having the testimonies of how it helped them and everything, I was intrigued. But there's no real regulation to it. You don't really know what's a good product, what's not a good product. And so I got introduced to Motive because it's a Columbus-based company. I was like, I'll talk to him. I don't know anything about it, but I'll talk to him. And so then talking to him and hearing about how they go through the process, what they do,
All of their batches, are coded so they know where it came from. Everything's produced in the United States. It's all pure. They go through their own level of testing. And that was kind of like, all right, let me try this stuff out. And, if I like it, let's do something. And so I tried it out. The big one for me was we have a joint and muscle pill that has the CBD in it. And as sometimes you just wake up, and I always talk about it with older guys too. Sometimes you wake up and you're like, I think I broke my ankle sometime in the middle of the night. It was like, I didn't do anything, but I woke up, my ankle was killing me. And that's the reality of the wear and tear, right, wrong, or indifferent. We all know we're doing it, but sometimes I'll get, when you're in the car and you're driving and you got your long car ride, I'll have one arm there and it's on the windowsill and it's there for a long while. I'll get into wherever and I know next day the elbow's going to be swollen. I can feel it like the rain coming. And so I started using this stuff and, knock on wood, I mean, it's cut it down significantly. It helps me. I don't take the sleep one. I've heard that's fantastic. But with little kids, I don't want to be, knocked out.
I'm the same way. I'm scared for the sleep one, but the joint stuff is awesome.
The joint stuff is awesome. And so it's been a nice addition that it's not that I don't have to worry about things, but it really does. I feel better with it. And and people always like, "Whoa, do you feel it right away?" I was like, no, it's not like an instant thing where it's like, I can lift 100 pounds right over the top of my head. It's more just like it's a slow burn to where you just start to feel like things move better and a little bit looser. And I've really enjoyed it, and they're a fantastic company. It's been fun trying to figure out what we can do with it until the Rona hit, and then it's been difficult, trying to see the distribution, and it's been actually really interesting seeing the distribution of what Motive's doing, because they're a startup as well, and have that alongside my 74 barbecue. And trying to figure out that stuff too, because it's two different worlds. You have a supplement world and you have a food world, but there's so much stuff that goes into food distribution, and to create things, label design, bottle design, this whole thing that I had no idea about when I started the sauce. Same thing I see with the CBD. It was well, what else can we do with it? And there's so much that goes on with it. And so it's been a lot of fun. It's been neat, and it helps me. And so anybody who asks, I always give it the thumbs up. Actually, I just had a buddy last night texting me. He's like, "Hey, I saw that you're in the CBD. Does it work?" And so then I go on to my salesman pitch, and I was like, it's really good. So, I don't think I've had a hard time finding anyone who's been like, "No, that stuff isn't for me."
I was just going to say the same thing. You can speculate about what other people think about their own experience, but same thing with me. My personal experience with it, it's made my body feel better. I can't argue with that. I can't argue with good results for myself. It sounds like you have the same. And to be totally honest, the alternative, what guys used to do or continue to do after they're done playing is, try and get something shot up or take pills to eliminate pain for a short period of time. And there's no way this stuff, and it's already been proven scientifically now, is worse than doing something like that. So I think it is the wave of the future, and that's pretty cool that you're behind it. Also, okay, I gotta come clean about something.
And is this where I'm gonna hate you?
Yeah, and I'm glad we're not in person, because we had planned to do this in person at some point. And I said he's gonna jump across the table and beat my ass. So do you remember 2011, the Bills game? We won. Do you remember that game at all, or not really?
Not really, but I believe you.
Okay, do you remember how we used to have the Thanksgiving parties at my former residence down at the golf course at Trump National in Bedminster? And remember, we'd have the big, holiday party for everybody on the team and their family and people in the building and coaches. Remember we did that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well then Thanksgiving, Rex would just have like a quick walkthrough or whatever in the morning, and then we were done. Remember, no meetings, and we could go home and be with our family. So we came and picked you up for that walkthrough or something to go to. Matthew's a baby at this point, a baby. Your in-laws were in town, and somebody toilet papered your house when we picked you up. Remember, I picked you up and you were pissed. You got in the car and Scotty was in the car, and somebody toilet papered your house. And you said it was those damn kids down the street that were Giants fans, and you were really, really upset.
Yes.
This is the ESPN 30 for 30. What if I told you I know who did that to your house?
What if I told you I now already know who did it to my house?
Okay, can I just explain? We thought it was a great
Honestly,
idea.
How old are you?
In the middle of the night, and it wasn't just me and Scotty. We had help. Kevin O'Connell was with us.
Jerry?
So we all went in onesies and zipped them all up so you couldn't see us on cameras or anything, and we were throwing toilet paper.
Son of a bitch.
And I remember we went to go pick you up, and we're like, oh my God, he's going to think it's so funny. Like, who cares? And you got in the car, and you were fuming. And
well, yeah, we had to clean.
I looked at Scotty in the rearview mirror, and I just gave him like the cutthroat sign, like, do not say a word. And then I had to tell Kevin before you saw him, like, do not say a word. I had to tell Leah not to say anything. And then we just kind of held on to it for a really long time. And I just had to come clean because that was bad.
God, how old are you? You know what? I go back. You are very immature. I take it all back. You're the worst.
I'm sorry. I thought it was so funny. And then I saw how upset you were with your in-laws at the house, and I was like, oh my God, he's going to kill me.
Oh, you know who's really...
You said, look how high they got this toilet paper. Like, how did they do that? And immediately I was like... I was like, what about, like, maybe they play water polo or something?
Water polo. Oh, you know who's going to kill you? She might even
Jenny.
risk the corona is to fly out there to kill you.
Oh my God! Tell her
Actually,
I
I take that
big
back.
time.
She'll charter a plane. She'll fly out there, kill you, and then send the bill to Scotty.
Well, I owe you a nice trip to Cabo for that. That was bad.
That was, oh my God. I had forgotten about that. I was so pissed.
Dude, you were so pissed. Oh my God. I didn't want to tell you.
It's good because you did it virtually.
We almost said something at Super Bowl when I saw you, and he's like, no, you can't. You can't. Okay? Not in person. So I'm sorry, that was a cowardly move.
Not in person. Oh, man.
But I had to save it to the end of the interview so you didn't cut it off.
Good one.
I was like, you guys, he's going to just turn off his phone and be like, bye.
Okay, we've had enough.
Yeah. But seriously, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. You're awesome, one of my favorite teammates, and big hug to the family. I want to make sure I plug your socials, the proper socials, so I'll let you do that. On Instagram and Twitter, what do you got?
Instagram is at real Nick Mangold, because there's fake ones apparently, which I don't know why. And then Twitter is just at Nick Mangold. Those are my two channels, and that's where you can find all of me.
And 74barbecue.com, is that correct?
74 spelled out, bbq.com. You can buy sauces online there. We have a couple stores in New Jersey selling it right now. And so we're trying to expand as fast as we can, but we're grinding away. But best sauce you've ever had. It'll make your barbecue the center of attention.
Ooh, well said. Great plug.
Yeah.
All right, Instagram, we're Fourth and Forever. YouTube, youtube.com/Fourth and Forever. Thanks again, Nick. We'll see you guys soon. Instagram at Fourth and Forever. youtube.com/Fourth and Forever. Like, share, comment, and don't forget to smash that subscribe button.
Hulk smash!
Oh, Hulk smash. All right.